Support for Headline Humboldt is made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
Coming up next on Headline Humboldt, an Arcata business receives a letter purporting to be from a radical Christian group threatening violence. Also, Jacob Rosen from the city of Eureka and Commander Wayne Rabang from the Eureka Police Department join us to discuss homelessness in the city and recent efforts toward reform. Coming up now on Headline Humboldt. From the top of Humboldt Hill, this is Headline Humboldt. I'm James Falk. Thanks for joining us. I had a personal reason this past week to attend and make comments at a Eureka City Schools board meeting. My niece Melissa, a longtime employee of the district, had been given an ultimatum that required her to either change her work schedule in a way she felt would hurt her family, accept possible transfer to another school site and classroom, or lose her job. The one thing she couldn't do was finish out this year under her old schedule. She was upset, understandably, and made comments to that effect. So did I. Attending the meeting, however, provided an even darker revelation. The public school districts here and elsewhere are suffering under the burden of too little money, too many expectations, and a public that is largely checked out of the process. I don't agree at all with the decisions made by the board around Melissa's position and that of other classified employees who have often been made to suffer the brunt of poor budgetary health. Administrators, meanwhile, make hundreds of thousands of dollars per year and seem at times cavalier about decisions they make. But our school systems are sick. They are underfunded and undervalued, and the kids who attend these schools sense where they stand in our nation's priorities. This is no one's official fault. It is everyone's. I think that as a country, a state, and a community, we all need to reimagine what it means to cherish and educate our young people. They are not numbers, assets, widgets, or commodities. They are complex and individual human beings who matter whether or not their districts suffer from declining enrollment. The best way to build a caring and just society is to start with our children, raising them to accept and further the values that have long made us a successful people. Especially now, when so many of our ideals seem under threat, the grown-ups need to lead by example. Our guests tonight, managing mental health clinician Jacob Rosen from the city of Eureka and Commander Wayne Rabang from EPD, will join us shortly to talk about homelessness in the city of Eureka. But first, the news. The state's health insurance safety net, Medi-Cal, is billions of dollars in the hole. According to reporting nonprofit Cal Matters, due to several converging factors, almost 15 million Californians have health care coverage through Medi-Cal. California healthcare officials told the legislature on Monday that the state will need another $2.8 billion to be able to pay Medi-Cal providers through the end of this fiscal year. That's on top of a $3.4 billion loan that the administration told lawmakers last week it needed to afford critical Medi-Cal payments. Combined, that's $6.2 billion in spending above what was projected in this year's budget. Michelle Bass, director of the Department of Healthcare Services, has said these additional funds will allow the state to catch up for the rest of this year. Bass told legislators in a recent budget hearing that several factors are contributing to the higher than anticipated spending, including an increase in pharmacy costs, but also more growth in enrollment than the state had projected. For one, the state underestimated the number of immigrants without legal status who would sign up to the program in the last year. A member of a Humboldt County jail work crew made a swim for freedom Tuesday in a short-lived jaunt across Humboldt Bay that left him wet, cold, and back in jail custody. As first reported in the Red-Headed Black Belt, the inmate, Christian Murphy, 28, of Eureka, entered the bay near the Sacco Amphitheater in Old Town before swimming toward Woodley Island. He made it across the water, but was immediately met by officials from the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office, the Eureka Police Department, and the U.S. Coast Guard. He was taken back into custody without incident. Murphy was classified as a minimum security worker and was serving a county sentence, according to police. He now faces the additional charge of escaping a county facility. A letter received by an Arcata business, ostensibly from a radical Christian group, has threatened violent action for promoting pagan ideology. This is the world we're living in. Culture Shrooms Humboldt is a plant bar on the Arcata Plaza that serves plant-based drinks and holds community events that promote good mental health and connectedness. The letter, received last week by co-owner and manager David Poplin, comes from a group calling itself the Church of Arcata. It pledges loyalty to a radical Christian ideology and what it claims is the reigning king of the world, Donald Trump. From the letter, quote, "The Church of Arcata is one of the many local churches who have been ordered by the Lord Most High to crusade via warnings and physical warfare against false prophets and false religion, lead men and women to salvation through the blood sacrifice of Jesus Christ, and to support his one and true prophet, Donald Trump, who he has anointed King of Earth to reign until Jesus returns," unquote. No such group has been found online or anywhere else. The letter in particular mentions a poster hanging in the Culture Shroom's restroom of an Indian elephant god. The letter's author demands that Poplin remove the poster and desist from holding an event on March 22nd that the author claims is sinful and worthy of violent punishment. Poplin says that he has been in touch with Arcata police and there will be stepped-up patrols for that event, which is a musical event held once a month where folks sing together and build cohesion and fellowship. Here, Poplin describes how he received the letter and how his business plans to respond.
It was a normal Friday, just mail came in, and it's not the first time. I literally was about to just throw the letter away, because sometimes I get like just junk mail, but I opened it up, and at first when I read it, I didn't think too much of it. I was kind of just like, wow, this is kind of wild and crazy, but like I was just like, whatever. I'm kind of used to like getting like criticized and like, I don't know, I've always been kind of pushing the envelope in so many different ways that I was just kind of like used to it. But then I let my girlfriend read it, and she was kind of like, what the hell is this? And then it kind of made me think twice about like, maybe I should post this on the internet. And in the letter, the event they're talking about is a local event called a kirtan, and they are amazing musicians, amazing human beings. And the whole event is just so beautiful because it's like an interactive singing event where everyone sings hymns and, they're interacting with each other. And after, there's like snacks that give out and everyone's usually happy. I really love the crowd that comes in. I love the crowd that they bring. No drama. Everyone's very respectful. And that's why I was really caught off guard with this one, that they had a problem with this specific event. So that made me think twice again, where I was just like, this just doesn't seem right, because this event is one of my favorite ones that we have here at Culture Shrooms. Like I said, it's so peaceful, so I don't see how anyone can find the hate within this event. So that made me, look twice into it, and I decided to post the letter on my personal Instagram, and I did not realize how much of a pull I have potentially, because this just blew up, and I started getting messages from people on Reddit that would say that they saw it on Reddit, Facebook, Instagram, and that's where I was just like, oh wow, like maybe this is a lot bigger than like than I thought it would ever get. And I bet you the person who wrote this letter is definitely not thinking that it would have gotten this big too, because I have a feeling that it is potentially a troll letter. So someone may be messing with me. I doubt that they thought it would get this blown up. It does make it very interesting at the weird times that we're in right now. And like I said, I really hope that this is like a hoax letter, because if there's anyone out there that really actually thinks that way, that is truly scary. But it just really shows how important it is that the government and no one else is going to ever tell you how important it is mental health is. Yeah. And that's up to us. Like, we can't rely on anybody else but us to work on ourselves and to find help in people and communities to make sure that we're all kind of growing together.
Amen to that. We'll be right back after this short break.
Key TV is calling for community champions. Want to make a positive impact? Join our community advisory board and help shape the future of your local PBS station, KEET. We're looking for passionate individuals throughout our viewing area, including Crescent City, Willow Creek, Southern Humboldt, and beyond, especially those from diverse backgrounds. Meetings are quarterly and held online. Visit keet.org to learn more and make a difference today.
Ever wonder what happens to your car when you're done with it? will it be taken care of? What if donating could give you access to more of the television you love? We'll use the proceeds from your donated vehicle to help fund your PBS station and give you access to our most popular member benefit, PBS Passport. With Passport, you can stream a massive collection of drama, mystery, history, music, and art programs. You're going to love it. Complete the easy online donation form today and we'll take care of the rest. And thank you.
Joining us now in studio is Jacob Rosen, the managing mental health clinician for the city of Eureka, and Commander Wayne Rabang from EPD's CSET team and Eureka Police Department generally. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
So if people haven't been following the news, the Eureka City Council had a major council meeting this week that lasted hours, and the discussion was centered around homelessness and a new ordinance that the city is hoping will ultimately give officials more leverage in helping direct folks, I think, into programs related to helping to ameliorate homelessness. Before we get into the particular ordinance, though, I'm hoping to sort of give a background on the situation in Eureka. I mean, people notice that there's a lot of homeless folks often in downtown and the area and whatnot, but Wayne, can you talk a little bit about the challenges that presents for Eureka Police Department in terms of enforcement and just how you guys approach doing both law enforcement, but then also having to be almost like social service workers in some sense?
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Yeah.
A lot of our calls for service stems around homeless issues around our city, business owners and residents calling in regards to these issues, but also the mental health aspect of it. It's the majority of the calls for service that the officers deal with. And there's times where you can see that it's taxing on them, but not only on them, on the residents, on the business owners.
Yeah.
So we're trying to maintain that balance and to balance that compassion and accountability.
Mm-hmm.
None of the officers want to take people to jail. It's not something that we want to do. We want to maintain peace. That's our main goal, is to maintain peace. But obviously that it'll come down to that. But we like to ask people to help people. We never like to tell people unless that's the last resort. But we like to direct these people to different types of services. Some of them don't have the courage to actually reach out for these services, and that's where uplift and care come into play.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times the contact that these people will have with government is the police, so you represent an opportunity for them to sort of begin to get into those systems. And I think that Eureka, for folks who may not know, is on the forefront of really trying to maximize the way that the police are having constructive relationships with homeless folks rather than just arrest and put them in jail to forget about. Jacob, can you talk a little bit about, what are the challenges that lead folks to homelessness, and how important is it that we try and direct them into programs that can help rehabilitate their lives, either through finding a place to live or drug treatment, that sort of thing?
Certainly, I think there's numerous causes if we really start to look at the granular level. But if we can put some categories in there. We can look at mental health, we can look at substance use, we can look at unaffordable housing, we can look at employment. Did someone lose a job recently? And so those we know are kind of some of the main causes or variations of those four. And the reason that it's so important to help folks as quickly as we really can is, the more research that comes out, we know that being homeless is a social determinant of health. We know that it affects someone's health globally, their physical health, their mental health, and everything else. And the longer someone ends up being homeless, the more difficult it is on the body, but also sometimes the harder it is to get out of that situation. It really becomes a cycle. Because if someone ends up homeless and their mental health or physical health deteriorates, it may be more difficult for them to then hurdle the hurdles they have in front of them to get out of that situation.
Yeah.
Which is why it's so important that we have services that are really trying to do that engagement in the field and get folks into services so that they can get that assistance they deserve.
Yeah. Now, so what was the particular, and Jason or Jacob, this will be back to you again. What was the particular piece in the proposed ordinance that may have helped give some leverage to officials in terms of directing folks
Yeah.
into treatment.
So the ordinance would be a combination of factors. So on one end, it's simplifying the current campaign and sitting in line ordinance from 2 different ordinances down to 1, simplifying the language, and then also increasing the infraction to a misdemeanor. The reasoning behind that is because that will then give a little extra leverage in being able to then direct folks to the LEAD program, which is Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion. And that's, assuming this gets passed at some point, then that will end up being the city's newer social service mental health program that will assist folks in getting connected to those services. So it creates a situation where, because of that misdemeanor charge, law enforcement can then immediately refer folks to LEAD, and then LEAD can work with those individuals, and in return for participating and engaging, that individual can have those charges dropped.
Yeah. So now, Wayne, there's several different programs running through the Eureka Police Department, and there's CSET, right? And there's other programs, and maybe they're not with your EPD, and hopefully I'm hoping you can help me clarify that. There's a MIST, there's also now this LEAD entity. Which of those are coming through the police department, and which of those are more, I guess, which is of the Eureka Police Department?
The MIST services.
The MIST services.
Yes. And then the
Okay.
LEAD would be like a collaboration.
Okay, so it would only be a partner agency within that. And then CSET, which I think is sort of the pride and joy of the Eureka Police Department, or has been. Can you describe for folks what that program is and what its priorities are in relation to all this?
So CSET is the acronym for the Community Safety Engagement Team. It's comprised of an overall overseeing commander, which I am now in charge of that currently, and a sergeant, a MIST or mental health officer, 2 waterfront rangers that patrol our trails, and we also have a police information officer or technician, and now we actually have an Old Town officer that also assists with that.
Cool.
And their jobs basically are to maintain our trails, parks, and waterfront trails, also to connect with our homeless community, do some outreach, direct them in the right directions with uplifter care, providing them their resources, whether it be food, temporary shelter, through some of the programs that we have, offering them. There's also assistance with getting them back to where they came from. Some people are just stranded here.
Yeah.
And that's the main goal for CSET, is to not only target the homeless community by way of getting them those resources, and also to help the business owners and community to maintain that balance.
Yeah. Now, you've been here at the Eureka Police Department for 17 years or so, I think you mentioned before. Can you talk a little bit about how its approach to homelessness has evolved over that time?
You know, it's unfortunate. It does. The Eureka Police Department has changed tremendously from when I started back in 2007, 2008. We didn't see a lot of the homeless people because they were in a lot of our greenbelt areas.
Yeah, there was a wilderness kind of where
Yes,
they were at. Yeah.
A lot of the Palco Marsh areas, you know, some of them were in our city parks that we weren't patrolling as much. And then, you know, before I actually started promoting to where I'm at now, I used to be the department's first full-time mental health officer. You know, it was a challenging role because we never had a CSET team that oversaw what I did. We had our POP team, our problem-oriented policing team, that was the basic umbrella. And I was teamed up with a mental health clinician. And since then, obviously, it's evolved. There wasn't a lot of that collaboration and partnership with the county to give them the warm handoff that services that we have now with care and uplift. So I basically felt like I had my hands tied, but then, you know, after a while, and after with our former chief and the other Commander Leonard LaFrance, developing the CSET team, we have more. We've gained a lot more, and we've also built a lot more partnerships with the community and with the county.
And I mean, it seems like you guys are in a leadership position, at least for departments of your size, in terms of engaging, and I think engaging with dignity, which I think we talked about a little bit about the show, that oftentimes just affording someone the dignity of respect, you know, I see you, I respect you, can diffuse situations, and I think that that's an important and enlightened development for EPD that I think needs to get heralded even more than it already is, because I think it's a different approach than some other departments are taking. But there are several different things on the in development for Eureka's homelessness situation, just to sort of go through them, there's a new community resource center coming in at 1111 E Street, right?
Correct. Yep.
And when does that plan on opening, and what is that exactly?
So that is open now.
Okay.
It opened, I believe, last month.
Okay.
That's a program under Uplift Eureka, and it's open Monday through Wednesday from 10 to 2.
Okay.
It's an excellent resource for folks to come in and get computer access if they need to work on resumes, if they're needing some assistance in getting connected to services or learning what services are in the area.
Yeah.
Folks can come in and just drop in and get that resource.
So it gives them someplace to be during
absolutely.
the day, which is a huge deal too, right? Yeah.
Yep. And then it's very intertwined with Uplift Eureka's employment services. And so if someone's looking to get connected with Pathway to Payday or the Job Skills Program, they would be able to get connected through the Resource Center there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little children's area too. So if someone has kids, they're welcome to bring them and they can sit and play, and then that individual can work on what they need to work on.
Yeah.
And so it's a really excellent resource that's been part of the plans for the municipal auditorium remodel for quite some time, and is now coming to fruition. And
have people realized it's there yet, or is that still kind of ongoing?
There's definitely been some folks who've stopped in. It's definitely getting utilized. I know Uplift is looking to promote it more, and as they do, work on expanding hours as well, so that it's open more time during the week.
Yeah. And then there was also something going on, a transitional housing facility on Hillficker, is that right?
Correct. That's another Uplift Eureka program. That's something that they are partnering with the Betty Chin Foundation. And Betty and her team are going to kind of operate the on-site component of that.
Okay.
And then Uplift is going to assist with the referrals and helping get folks into that program. That's going to be 33 units down on the Crowley property with 38 beds, and hopefully will be open soon. I know there's been a number of delays, and we keep hoping that it'll be open, and it's finally coming to fruition though, and is going to initially target folks who've been living on the trail on the south end of Eureka.
Yeah. Which has long been the sort of the site of where a lot of the camping and stuff has been going on. So hopefully giving them a permanent alternative, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
It will be a transitional alternative, so folks can stay there for up to a year, and then they're getting that case management and support to move into more permanent housing from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, basically now though, when people don't have a place to stay, their main option is the Eureka Rescue Mission. Is that right?
The Eureka Rescue Mission, the Betty Chin Foundation also has numerous sites with the Blue Angel Village and the annex. And then there's also Arcata House Partnership, which operates the Chemex site there on 4th Street, as well as numerous other buildings up in Arcata. And when we're working with folks, we really don't discriminate on it being in Eureka. If we can get someone inside, then we're going to get them inside, and we're going to work with any of the programs that are locally.
So you can move people from here to Arcata or whatever as needed.
Yep. And collaborate very well with those agencies. They've been wonderful partners.
Yeah. So I have a little bit of a story I want to tell a little bit. Yesterday, I was down in Old Town covering a story. We just reported it. The gentleman who was trying to escape from the county, and I was down there taking pictures, and I ended up getting in a scuffle with a homeless man, and he struck me. And then I called the police, and the police came, and they responded very quickly, but I didn't plan it, but it's very much topical to what we're talking about right now. And at the end of it all, the officer asked me if I wanted to press charges, and I said no, because I wasn't hurt. And I could have acted better, I think, in terms of my interaction with the gentleman, and I could have diffused it, I think, if I'd been a little bit more calm myself or whatever. But it kind of brought home to me the complexities that this problem presents on a number of different fronts. But I go back to, in that situation, I could have acted better. And so I was hoping that, Wayne, you might be able to offer some advice for folks. Like, there are people in this world of varying capabilities, both mentally, physically, and those sorts of things. People in crisis, and we may encounter them through our just ordinary, everyday routes through town. What's your advice for folks when they're dealing with someone who may not be at full capacity for one reason or another, and in order to avoid conflict? I mean, how would you suggest people sort of engage in those, contacts without exacerbating them? Does that make sense?
Yes. So there's several ways you can handle that types of situations. You can engage or you choose not to engage.
Yeah.
It's not really a disengagement, but
And I didn't do that. I answered him back. I mouthed off, and I could have. And I think that's on me.
but it all boils down to, if the person's in crisis, what type of trauma people suffered. I mean, you could have had different stressors through the day, needing things to complete. I mean, you never know what could happen.
Yeah.
But through the years and my experiences as an officer working with a lot of people, especially with the homeless population, some people just want to be treated as almost as equals, even though we don't feel that they're equal, or some people won't feel that way. Be respectful. And being respectful is maybe not even engaging. That could be deemed respectful. But also just saying hi or excuse me, just at least acknowledging them, because some people, all they want to do is to belong somewhere and to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
As a person, as a human being.
Yeah.
So that's where I think that you don't have to trust everyone, but just be respectful.
Yeah.
And that's where it can come. It can go a long way when dealing with people with mental illness or just someone that's homeless and just having that trauma of being homeless. They might not have any huge immediate traumas in their life, but that's just that trauma of being homeless and not knowing where they're going to sleep next or what they're going to eat next.
Yeah.
But even if you hear someone calling them by name, sometimes walking by and just maybe calling them by name, that might even stop any type of issues that a person might have with this homeless person or this individual.
Yeah, it's sort of like with the kids I was talking about in the beginning of the show. It's like treat them like human beings. How would you like to be treated in those moments? And I think that could go a long way. Anyway, it's just a personal thing I wanted to share, and it fit in with the topic that we have. And I think it's important that people always try and bring compassion with them, even in difficult moments. I mean, it's not the police's job to make sure that we have a comfortable a walk through town every time. We're going to encounter people that make us uncomfortable or give us situations that are complicated, and we need to figure out how to navigate ourselves through those situations without being afraid or resorting to violence or anything like that. So the ordinance, though, that was proposed, the city council tabled it. When do you think it might come back? Is it something that seems dead for you guys? Where do you think it's going to go, Jacob?
I definitely don't think it's dead. It sounds like council really wants to put in time to consider this more. This is certainly a difficult issue from both a human standpoint, but also a political standpoint, which is understandable. And I know that they really want to put a lot of thought into it. Our goal from the beginning in developing this has really been trying to find a way to balance these interactions, right? The current ordinances do not really offer an opportunity to add compassion to an accountability intervention. And so we really want to, if we're going to kind of have that ordinance present, we want to have something that adds that ability to put compassion in there and really direct folks to services. We as a city really know that there's no arresting your way out of this issue. And so if we're going to have contacts for behavior or accountability problems, then we want to be able to at least add a compassion source to that and get folks connected to the services that they need, hence partnering it with the LEAD program.
We're out of time, guys. That's it. Thank you so much for coming on and for talking about this issue, and happy to have you guys back in the future to check in on it and do what we can to make it better.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's it for this week, guys. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, stay informed.